Hello, Yassine. Thank you so much for your patience. I wanted to start speaking to you in French, but I did not. Um, I'm just used to knowing French girls named Yassine, even though I don't know any, or like hearing about French girls named Yassine. Um, one quick moment. Hold on, one sec. Hold on. I'm just gonna pause this then. One sec. All right, I had to take a quick break there. Had to do a little IG live, and it turns out that I swear Instagram is coming for me. I've been doing nothing wrong. I'm like literally like posting just about astrology. I'm not getting all wild. And they said that your account cannot do a live. So I have to go on my backup account. I just keep getting this feeling that I need more and more people to follow my backup account at Jesse Innocent Backup for now. I'll probably change the name and start even posting on there. Maybe I'll like have like a month where I only post there or something. I'm thinking about it. I'm really thinking about it. Some shadow banned, you know. My name comes up last when I search in Jessiness and Astro. There's like 8 fake accounts that come up before me. It's just there's so much saturation. It makes me wonder. And this isn't part of the reading, by the way. This is like I haven't even started the timer yet. I'm just kind of getting a little monologue, but it just makes me wonder, like, because like everything, as we'll see with you, everything human, business, Instagram account, relationship, even if you have a relationship and you get back with a partner, like a business, like I just said that, like any event, the start of a country, it has a chart. So it kind of makes me wonder, maybe like I started Jesse as an Astra. I think it was, I don't remember if it was during like a Chiron conjunct Sun. I forget. I think it was, yeah, when Chiron was on my Sun, which is actually like very linked to healing. I'll have to look into that another time. But it makes me wonder if there's like some kind of like energy like around like hidden enemies type, like 12th house type stuff going on there. But that's besides the point. We're here for you. And let's go ahead and get started. So welcome to your reading. Thank you for your patience. It's been kind of a wild time, so I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen. I've been finding lately, I know my hair looks like a hedgehog that got mutated with a bumblebee. I don't know, I just keep coming up with random animal combinations, but I've been finding that I've been able to channel even better when I don't have the camera on me all the time. So I kind of, yeah, I got my Joker shirt, but I also understand that people, they want to see me. They want, like, there's times where like how I express myself like has to be seen. So I go back and forth between where I'm just showing the chart, which unfortunately I haven't figured out how to make it so like it shows my face and the chart. I wish someone would just tell me how to do it, because I know the Peace Dealer, the other astrologer, like he posts some readings on his YouTube and client readings, and he's able to do that. Maybe I should just ask him. That'd be a good one, even though, yeah, I could just literally ask him. But whatever. I don't know. Either way, let's share it. Let's make sure. I know I didn't say the last name, but just double check. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna take out the initial and just have the first, just the first name. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So, all right, so let's show the aspects. Okay, so right off the bat, 29-degree Scorpio rising. So this is going to be very interesting because your chart would change a bunch if I used Placidus or Coach or any of these other systems where your first house would start right here. So I have a 28-degree Leo rising, so it's like very close to yours, obviously. there's 30 degrees in a sign. Basically, you're very, very close to being a Sag rising, right? But when I use whole signs, it starts at 0, like it just starts at like what the chart starts here at 0 degrees. Scorpio, whatever 0 degrees of whatever sign the ascendant's in, even though the ascendant still is here. So I don't know if you've had another reading before, but it would change a lot. So yeah. Anyways, so yeah, Scorpio rising makes your chart ruled by Pluto/Mars, Sun in Leo in the 10th, Moon in Cancer in the 9th, conjunct Venus and Chiron. I just had a Moon conjunct Chiron in my last reading. This happens all the time for me. All the time. It's unbelievable. It's like clockwork, where I have like some super, super random, like watch the next chart I do have the same thing. Moon conjunct Chiron. The last one was in Virgo. This one's in Cancer. So right off the bat, we talk about like the big three, and then like we see Mars over there in Aries. Okay, that's very, very strong Mars placement in the 6th house. That can actually really dominate a chart. When you have when you're already a Leo, and you have your Mercury there, so you have a lot of fire. And I'm looking for air. I mean, I see the Jupiter, which is kind of like a middle planet, but we're talking more about like the inner planets. It's like middle, right? Because the inner planets, the ones closest to the sun, they rule like conscious parts of our personality. And planets, the ascendant counts as a planet, the moon counts as a planet in astrology. So it's really the big three: Sun, Moon, Ascendant, Mercury, Venus, Mars, big 6, if you want to call it that. And I see fire, water, and so fire, water, and any earth and any air. Nope. So let's start with that, right? Missing elements in astrology is extremely important. Basically, when you don't have Earth in your chart, you can be someone who, it can be very difficult to have, and I have a lot in common with you. I have a lot of fire and air, or fire and earth, but I also have air. Fire and water, excuse me, but I also have air. I have no earth. So when you have no earth, grounding can be something very difficult. Kind of achieving that balance, that feeling of being able to wake up day after day and feel somewhat like the same person. That's kind of how I see Earth, is like that. It's very dependable, and it's naturally rooted and grounded. So when you lack it, you kind of have to go the extra mile to, I guess you could say, like, reconcile and to balance yourself and to ground yourself. So going into nature, doing things like gardening, anything that involves like yoga, the body, getting in touch with your senses. Meditation is the boom, 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 because that hits both, because that with air, that's about the mind, right? So that expands the mind. That's massive. Now, I was just saying this in my last chart. I say this all the time. It's my personal theory. I'm self-taught in astrology. I believe that we have the zodiac signs we have for the most part, because in past lives, like for example, like you have your moon in Cancer, which is a water sign. You have your North Node, which is like the part of your chart that speaks about kind of your destiny. It's kind of like the mountain you're trying to climb, where you're trying to aspire, where you're really, really trying to get to. Like, but it's not easy. It's like the mountain never climbed in past lives, right? It's in Pisces. So when I see that, it makes me think that this person, and water rules emotions, it rules intuition, it rules compassion, all these things, right? Getting in touch with your own deep emotions. Now, when I see that, let's see, Scorpio, and with Scorpio rising, so elemental grand trine would be if you want to add the North Node in that, just the fact that water is heavily represented. It means that you're really in this lifetime trying to get in touch. Also with spirituality, Pisces North Node is like someone who's really trying to deepen themselves spiritually in this lifetime, right? Now, when I see South Node in Virgo, right? You lack Earth. However, because the South Node's there, which isn't a planet, it's a calculation based on that. It's a calculation. It's not an actual planetary point, but it speaks about the past life tendency. In Virgo, it makes me think that there is a tendency to kind of be more in the material world, more in the less in the kind of dreaminess and the oneness that Pisces is, right? And in a Placidus chart, which we're not doing, but I still want to mention it, you would have Pluto in the 12th house, which is like a very, very, very like spiritual placement, where whenever I see Pluto in the 12th house, I say you're really in this lifetime trying to escape the materialism of Saturn, right? Like the consensus reality that we're conditioned to believe is true, and take a deep dive into the infinite ocean. So there's a lot of like letting go and surrender that's required, right? So that's definitely a theme, surrendering, especially being like a 29-degree rising sign in Scorpio. Scorpio, the rising is kind of how you come off your outer personality. Well, 29 degrees is a critical degree, so there's a lot of karmic. It's very, very karmic, and it's really like this life for you is very, very based on those scorpionic principles of death, rebirth, transformation, and letting go and surrendering, which is so crazy because I literally was just saying this in my last reading. I swear I get these. I swear that the cosmos give me these readings in a certain order to where like it happens. If there's anyone who like watches all my readings, which that would be crazy. If there's anyone out there, please comment. Like, shout out to you. That's crazy. That's awesome. Maybe I owe you like a special shout out or something. I don't know. So if there's someone who watches all my readings, that's crazy. That's amazing. Wow. And what a great tool to learn astrology. But essentially it's all the time. But yeah, so like letting go, surrendering, and getting past like your own conditioning are huge themes I see, right? Especially when I see, and I'm kind of doing I do charts differently. Sometimes I'm way more structured. Sometimes I'm like, I go all over the map. But I always come back and always make sense in the end. Now, when we see these two planets here, Saturn and Uranus in the second, a lot of times I think of that as like, okay, this person in terms of like finances and stuff of that nature, right? There's some a lot of times Saturn the second, the person comes from, although like it would be probably in the first in your Placidus, but in the second, in this case, typically comes from like a poor family with Uranus and there's like this real need to kind of like work their asses off to get to where they get to. And then Uranus there, it can create like a real up and down energy when it comes to like money, right? Or you're like you're killing it at one time, and it can create lots of instability. So it can kind of create someone who takes a more minimalistic lifestyle because they're just like, they don't want to depend on these ebbs and flows. And what it's all based off of karmically is it's trying to get you to that North Node of that trust of the divine, that trust of spirit, that when you attach yourself more to internal values and strengthen these internal values and internal mechanisms of strength, that a lot of good comes, basically, right? And that when you're able to do that, which you're born in 88, so you've had your Saturn return, things get a lot easier on that front. But with Saturn there, it's not a bad Saturn placement, because it definitely can make someone, like, it's in an Earth house, right? So it can definitely make someone a very hard worker who, like, and then once like they get past the Saturn return, everything related to the finances, there can be a lot more stability, right? Now with just sun and moon, right? Like sun in Leo, moon in Cancer, back to back signs. On one end, right, you're here to shine. You're here to, like, 10th house Leo sun is obviously like someone who is, really like trying to, and 9th house moon, like there's a real mix of like trying to find like a real guiding philosophy in your life that you can like attach yourself to, like a higher truth, and you're going to go through like lots of different trial and error in terms of like like I call it like trying on different philosophies, trying on different worldviews, whether it's through traveling or reading or like learning about things like astrology or metaphysics or whatever it is. There's so like even music, like whatever the path, like there's a million different paths to spiritual advancement, right? Buddhism, whatever. I could go on for like an hour. Even just living like a everyday life that's based on spiritual principles. Now, what I'm seeing here though is the moon is heavily aspected by, it's opposed by the 3 outer planets down here. It's mostly opposed by Neptune, because these two are in different signs, but they're still opposing it. And basically what that can kind of create like some real, I swear I just had this. Is the sun unaspected? Yeah, this is literally like so similar to my last chart. Where there can be, typically the moon's the mother, so there can be lots of like healing, that karmic healing that related to the relationship with the mother and nurturing in a whole, as a whole. Because as a Cancer moon, your needs, which the moon is like your real emotional core, like what you really need to feel fulfilled, not fulfilled, to feel, the sun's more fulfilled, to feel secure, to feel safe, to feel happy, right? As a Cancer moon, your emotional needs are a lot higher than the average, right? So there's a high chance that like you didn't get that as a kid from the mother, or just nurturing in general. So that's massive. And just knowing that, with Chiron conjuncting it, that could be the indication of someone who goes through lots of trials and tribulations, but in their life they're meant to be some type of like embodied healer, right? Someone who can, like, through their own emotional transformation and maturation, they're able to kind of go to other people and really help them with their own process, but they have to go through it a lot, like, on their own. Now, so that's one thing. And like the moon opposite Neptune, that can create lots of like confusion around like the self-esteem, around like your own emotional being, and it can create lots of fog and kind of difficulty in understanding like who you are on like a deep level. It can also create like misunderstandings and relationship issues where there's like paranoia, where there can be issues with trust, things of that nature, like victimization, where you find it difficult to, especially as a Cancer moon, so sensitive when it comes to relationships, right, which is such a huge part of everyone's life. There can be this this energy where, with Cancers, especially Cancer moons, especially, once they're hurt once, it's very difficult. Like the whole metaphor of the Cancer, the crab, Cancer's the crab, it crawls back in its shell and doesn't want to like be hurt again. So that's where a lot of the healing is. But where and what the 9th house is the arena of life where that healing kind of like where you find it, I guess, and that's completely linked to like your search for higher truth, your search for higher wisdom, your travels, stuff of that nature. So I imagine, like, I don't know anything about you on purpose. I make sure not to look at anything related to your Instagram. I know nothing about you on purpose, right? I this is my thing, to know nothing, because I don't want to see someone's Instagram and then be like, oh, like, they do this, they do that, right? So I know nothing. But in essence, like Moon conjunct Chiron is definitely like an indicator of someone who's meant to be a healer in this lifetime. But yeah, someone who definitely has to go to different places, to like meet people, different worldviews, and things of that nature to really like I guess you could say like figure out like what like how, and this ties perfectly, right? This is over here, ties perfectly to this Leo sun in 10th house, because the first step one is like, okay, I need to figure out like first of all, I need to figure out my emotional nature. I have to get past like all the difficulty. And when you talk about the moon opposite, Uranus opposite Saturn, there's more, the moon opposite Saturn can create like depression. It can create feeling of loneliness, feeling of like just in it with Uranus, like feelings like no one understands you, like very rebellious energy, like maybe like in your own family, like feeling like you just didn't belong, like people don't really understand you, something like that, right? But then with Saturn, yeah, that's like a surefire sign of someone who probably has gone through periods of deep depression, deep melancholy, right? Even with the fact that your moon is in a tight conjunction with Venus, which is going to add a lot of pleasantness to this, especially once like once the painful, the shadow work is kind of completed, which as a Scorpio rising, with Pluto ruling your chart, which is right behind it, and you could say Pluto / Mars, there's a large part of your life is about that transformation and that death rebirth transformation, excuse me, where there's so much surrender that's needed. But once that surrender happens, surrender of the ego to the soul, that's when things really, really open up for you, right? Now, looking further at this, we see that, so let's say you get past a lot of this difficulty, right? And then you're able to really benefit from the fact that Leo is placed, very well here. And in essence, like it's like you want to shine because your midheaven's in Virgo, so in Virgo conjunct the South Node. So there's definitely been like a past life tendency for you to kind of be the more career oriented person, the person who maybe like puts off their spiritual growth in order to kind of like succeed and and just like make it in the real world and kind of like abide by the rules or the conditioning. You know what I'm trying to say. So releasing yourself from that conditioning is extremely important. And yeah, so with the sun in Leo and it's combust with Mercury there, that can, and once again going back to the fact that there's a lack of air, there can be a lack of objectivity, right? It can be difficult for you to really see yourself and see how you differentiate in relation to like others and just like kind of like finding your place in the world and who you are and whatnot, right? Because there might be like all these like messages, like these kind of like these not messages, these, yeah, I guess like just like contradicting messages of like what you're meant to do and stuff of that nature. Because the Leo can be very, very proud, and it can almost like with Black Moon Lilith pretty close by too. In Leo, there can be sometimes like my way or the highway, like kind of like not necessarily narcissistic, but just like kind of just a little bit inflexible, a very like fixed, like this is how I'm doing things, like and not a willingness to kind of listen. And also there can be like this is just like not a planet. This is Black Moon Lilith is like kind of like the lower vibe. So yeah, in Leo, it's definitely related to like the lower vibe of Leo, which is obviously, yeah, we all know like how Leos can be kind of like a little bit too much of like, look at me. But that's all part of the process, right? So, but yeah, with the lack of air, which I wanted to come back to, that, and you do have Jupiter in Gemini, so that's going to help that. But still, being able to see things through other people's eyes, right? And have different perceptions and see different people's worldviews. That's going to be very, very helpful. And also communication, right? That's like being able to, like, because your Black Moon Lilith is conjunct your Mercury, so that that Leo energy, it could come out in the way you communicate, the way you think. And Leo's fixed, right? Fixed means it doesn't want to change. So that there can be some backlash there, especially when your Mercury has some nice aspects. Nothing really bad in that camp. But yeah, overall, just yeah, someone who wants to, like, on one hand go through like the real intense transformation, but on the other hand, it's like this push and pull between like staying the same and kind of doing what others want you to do, and what the world kind of unconsciously wants you to do, and then doing what you're really authentically meant to do. Which, speaking about authenticity, Leo at its highest is about authentic self-expression, right? Leo is the sign of authentic self-expression, which, what I mean by that is, like, when we talk about Leo, we talk about creativity, and we talk about like the low vibe Leo. It's like they're only willing to create. They're only willing to put, like, let's say like you're a content creator or something like that. They would only be willing to, I guess you could say, like, put themselves out there in that kind of sense if they got like 1 million views, or if they're famous right away. But the true sense of the authentic self-expression, it's like art therapy is a good example. It's like creating for the sake of getting to understand yourself at a deeper level, and not seeking that external validation, right? Because the Black Moon Lilith there can kind of make it so, like, there's this like deep need for approval, but then it can kind of get foggy when you add that Uranus there opposite the moon, because that creates this split, as I speak about in many of my readings, where there's almost like two different conflicting parts of the personality, where one, with the moon there, perhaps like you're just really trying to rebel. There's like this huge part of you that really wants to kind of rebel and be different from like what you were like told you should be. But then there's the Leo part that can sometimes be a little bit prideful, a little bit like, unwilling to change. Like too much pride, basically. So getting past that is huge. And it opens up the doors for, this North Node in Pisces, right? Which is in the 5th house, which to me is about, if your South Node is in the 11th house, conjunct the midheaven, so we could even say it's like a mix of like 10th and 11th. It's like there's a lot of been there, done that as it relates to being there on that kind of career, big picture level. Big picture meaning like your grand life purpose level, right? There can be like a sort of like a ease to which you naturally kind of go to that direction, especially with the 10th house Leo. So that it's not, this chart is not telling me, it's not speaking to me and saying that like you're meant to just like completely like not like go with your career, and no, not the opposite. Your sun is in the 10th house, your moon's in the 9th house. You are definitely meant to do big things as it relates to the helping people and being there. But at the same time, that's only one part of you. The other part is way based on your own very, very personal, energetic, spiritual transformation, which involves a lot of surrender and a lot of kind of, yeah, like I said before, like getting past prior life conditioning. And with the 5th house North Node, to me, that in conjunct the IC, so that could even be looked at from Placid, so it would be third house. And conjunct, it could be like third, fourth, or fifth, because like anything conjunct the IC, I think of like fourth. It can be related to like, finding your voice in a very authentic way, and being a little bit selfish when it comes down to your spirituality. Like when you need to take time off from whatever you're doing, from whatever your big mission is, taking that time off, and doing the things that you need to do to kind of like get deeper with yourself. Because like having that water, there's a certain level of like alone time that's needed, right? Even though like Pisces isn't represented, in your chart as an actual planet, there is that Neptune opposite Moon. So like people who have this, especially in Moon and Cancer, they tend to they can sometimes like have a difficulty separating themselves from other people's energy. And it's very, very important, for them to like be around the right kind of people in the right environment. But like, so that's the first thing. The second thing is like to make sure that your needs are met in terms of like your alone time, and where you're not like constantly around people, because that could be very draining for you. So then, we look at, okay, so the charts, Scorpio rising, we talk about that a little bit. Scorpio risings usually have very beautiful eyes, very like magnanimous presence. Like they enter a room and people know, it's just like they like people just like kind of like notice them, even if they don't say a word, they just have this presence that's very, very like there, and they prefer to kind of analyze and strategize, and like, not to say that they're not assertive, because it is, co-ruled by Mars in Aries, so you will be a very assertive person, especially as a Leo, with your triumph between your Mars and your Sun. But it's kind of like trying to, when you do proceed, when you do make like what's your Mars square? Yeah, Neptune. Okay, so there is like a need to proceed with caution, and to like not go towards I guess the lower vibe of this energy, which would be like impulsivity, reacting like, in that low Scorpio way of just kind of jealousy, controlling, power. Like power is a big word, right? Power and just like wanting to kind of keep control over things, right? Now, interestingly, okay, let me see this first. Yeah, so with the Mars and Aries in the 6th, that is someone who definitely, can, like, it's like the warrior athlete energy. I always tell people with Mars and Aries that they need to have some kind of like sport they're doing, or something where they can kind of sweat it out, and that can definitely have a good effect on every aspect of your life, including the emotional aspect, right? The emotional healing. So some kind of movement. Then also Mars and Aries in the 6th house. 6th house is about service. It's about routine. It's about kind of like what you do, like for other people. And in my view, like one of the surefire ways you can like definitely like proceed and move towards the highest vibration of you is by being of service to humanity in some type of way, right? And using that like because it squares Neptune, right? Which makes you have a T-square between Moon, Neptune. Like, look, Moon is opposite Neptune, and then Moon is square Mars. So they form what's called T-square, and it shoots out at 9 Libra. in the 12th house, which is the house of service. So that's literally like astrology, God's language, saying that the best way forward for you is to kind of move towards like a life of, I don't want to say a life of service, because that implies that like you're supposed to give up on like anything you're doing, just to like give to charity. No, but like to really like kind of have that in mind, because that totally relates to your North Node too, which is in Pisces, right? Which is that destiny point of really trying to help bring people together, and help on one level, raise your own spirituality. But remember, Moon conjunct Chiron, it's like everything you do, all the inner work you do for yourself has a direct link to the service you're able to offer other people, which is massive. So let's see. Okay, so I mean the sun is very well, it's chilling, just like my last reading. Like you could say that there's one parent that there's a very good relationship with, probably the father, while the other one, it's difficult. Like the moon is usually the mother. It's not always the case. But definitely most likely like way more difficult karma with one parent than the other, which is most likely the mother. And yeah, so like that's kind of like the first step in life, is like how to overcome that. And that's kind of like your rite of passage into healing is this moon aspect, right? And like how, like with the moon in Cancer, it's like, how can you nurture yourself? How can I be the one that nurtures myself, as opposed to like relying on other people? So, the parents you were given, it's all karmic anyways, right? Everything's karmic. So there's a reason, if this is the case, which you got to follow up. So we're gonna be able to, I tell everyone to get a follow up, because it's so important to kind of like, I know your friend got one too, and it was very, very good for her, to clear up a lot, right? To kind of compare the lived experience with what I'm saying here. But in this case, it's very, it's like how, like meeting your emotional needs, right? And not relying too much, like being able to like, to, through your own spiritual maturation, through your own spiritual development, get to a point to where you're like, all right, like I can be almost like I can be my own mother. I can nurture myself. So that's very, very important. So looking here, okay. So we can talk about love a little bit. Okay. We talk about love a little bit. So anyone with a Cancer moon, right? Let me just type one thing on my phone. Anyone with a Cancer moon in relationships is gonna need, to be nurtured. They're gonna need someone who is very emotionally available. I don't ever like say like you need this sign, you need that sign, you need this energy, you need this element, you need that element. But like, lacking earth and air, right? Like there's different types of relationships, right? Like there's some relationships where you end up with someone who's very similar to you, and then there's other ones where you end up with someone very, very different than you, right? So it's like, but what I can say with the moon, which I think is like the most important thing when it comes, most important plant point when it comes to relationship astrology, is that there's that need for like that emotional closeness, that, and also it's in the 9th house. So and emotional closeness, but also exploration, and someone who's really willing to kind of, I guess you could say, speak philosophy, speak like, maybe like, where's Venus? It's right there too. Yeah. So like definitely like the love language is like through like nurturing, like, of course, and it goes both ways. Through that deep emotional nurturing, right? That's like very, very, very important. And Venus does also conjunct Chiron, right? Venus, Moon, Chiron, they're all together. So I would think that would be very, very positive one for your healing, because you'd have a very nurturing effect on the people around you. But in love, it would indicate that there'd be a lot of and it's a loose trine with the North Node, but definitely a lot of healing, very karmic healing that would take place in romantic relationships, right? On the emotional Cancer level. So that's that. Then the fact that your descendant is in Taurus, right? That is kind of indicative of someone who, and your Jupiter's right close to your descendant, so that's actually like really, really good for having lots of luck in relationships with like the partners you meet, which is very, very good placement to have. But in Taurus, it speaks to like a certain level of groundedness, of like that person kind of being like a rock, like when I always use this metaphor, but whatever, that's what I can think of. When you build a building, right? Like when you see someone constructing like a big skyscraper, they spend the most time on the foundation. If there's not a good foundation to a relationship or to a building, it's gonna break. So that is what I mean, is that like there has to be that deep, deep, deep trust, or else it's just not gonna work. Because you're someone who's like really going towards, and we look at the North Node also, this spiritual life, and this deepening of the spiritual self. So it could be very beneficial to have someone who can kind of help you in that way, but also someone who is empathetic and who can, because like I said, with the moon, with all these oppositions, there can be lots of confusion, and even like in relationships, there, like with the opposition with Uranus, there can be an energy of like a desire to like escape, right? So someone who like, you look at them, you're like, I know 100,000% who this person is. Because like another thing with Neptune opposite, because now we're talking about Neptune opposite Venus, right? Because Venus also opposes all these planets. Venus has to do with self-worth. It's love. It is kind of like what you value, and kind of how your love language and stuff. But when it has these oppositions, like one with Neptune, there can be like this energy of like rose-colored glasses in love, right? Rose-colored glasses in love, where you're unwilling to see the faults in the individual. You see more, because you're such an empath, that you might see more of the potential. So that's where like developing that air, and also that earth, where you're really, really like pushing yourself to see things how they are, as opposed to like how you want them to be. And trust me, I have the same thing in my chart, and I know exactly, like it's not said in the same way, but it's a similar theme. And it can be a struggle, because you see someone as an empath, and you see all the potential of what they could be, and they're so great, they're so this, they're so that, but the true colors are only really revealed once once the smoke clears, and once the pink cloud is done, that pink cloud period in the relationship is done, and you're either like living with the person, and what I mean, like every relationship like you have, there's a period of time where it's all good, it's all flowers and daisies, and there's no problems. But then slowly you start to see red flags. And that's what's super important with this right here, is to understand that about yourself. And that's why when I say like having a partner that you know you can have these like really deep emotional conversations with, even if they're not like the most like emotional outward person, it's important that they understand that. That's why like signs like Aquarius or I don't know, Gemini, stuff like these more like these signs that are more kind of out there, less like more detached, would probably be more difficult for you. And it'd probably be better to have not that you can't, you know, date anyone who has those signs, not what I'm saying at all, but definitely someone who can play kind of that role of the rock. Now, when we look at the moon and the Saturn and all that, like that, this is all just speaking of like what like especially with your Saturn return, you must have like really felt a deep like wow, like a breath of fresh air, like okay, like so much weight lifted off your shoulders, excuse me. And with Venus, right, like in that opposition, you know, it can be difficult. I think I'm gonna turn my camera on now. So yeah, it can be difficult because like there's just so much energy and there's so much that has to get passed from within, and it can be projected outwardly very easily. So that's like with the Saturn, you know, that Venus opposite Saturn can kind of make it so like it's not until your Saturn return that you can really start to have these more serious, like deep relationships that last. But once you get past that point, which you have, that's when, you know, the real big ones can really come in. But like I said before, some of that energy can be pushed away by this Jupiter conjunct descendant, right? So, then with the Uranus, it's like just, I mean, moon opposite Uranus, you know, it can create like all these together can create like lots of confusion around relationships and who to trust and who not to trust, and there can be this like rebellious, like kind of like where you feel like in some relationships like you're imprisoned in a sense, in a like energetic sense, and like you need to get the fuck out or else. So yeah, that's why I speak so highly of like that kind of consistent type of individual that can kind of understand that. Now, then we speak about the Mars and Aries, which you know, is making a aspect to a square with Neptune, right? So that in itself is very karmic, and it's another indication of potentially not being able to kind of see things. It is very good for someone who wants to like help humanity and all that, but it can make someone like very I don't know, have trust issues and yeah, be a little bit like OCD when it comes to matters of love, right? And just in general, like with your overall Mars function is like, that's like how you move forward through life, right? That's like how you like, it's like your assertiveness function. So it can give someone like a lot of difficulty in kind of trusting their own ability to go after things in a very direct manner, even if you have the Mars and Aries. And also like difficulty in like with some of the other aspects and pinpointing exactly what it is that you want, like not just in love, but also in life. And there can be issues of self-confidence where you feel like you don't deserve it because of some of these, you know, the Chiron and all these other aspects, and like fear of rejection and criticism and all that stuff, right? But on a higher energy, which is the square, and squares are meant to be overcome and become like superpowers, it's very great for the imagination. Someone who can like learn to really trust their instincts once they're able to get past kind of the cloudy parts of them of what I was talking about before, because like in relationships, like with this plus the with the T-square, there can be like this person who can easily imagine how, like, oh, this can go wrong in this way, or this person's like thinking about this, like they see me in this way, and then they end up kind of like sabotaging the relationship because of that, right? So that's very important. Aside from that, I always say Mars and Neptune, like that's like you got to watch out for substances for sure. There can be almost like a bottomless pit type energy, like even related to like sex, but like definitely like with like just sensuality in general. Just always wanting more. So yeah, watching out for addiction is super, super important. Or just like this like fantasy, right? Like this fantasy of like the perfect prince that's going to come and save and rescue everything, right? So the whole point is like when you get in touch with that true heart chakra, and really like what I was saying earlier about that real Leo, which is getting in touch with your because Leo is the heart, right? It's the heart of the lion. Getting in touch with your true desires, that's when things open up. And you see that sensations are just sensations, that they're not really these deeply satisfying or fulfilling aspects. So yeah, and is it send those? Okay. So then, yeah, I think Mars in the 6th house is very strong because it makes you approach daily life with this like real firepower, like let's do this, like very good for career, very good for like achievement. It can make you also as an athlete like push yourself to the limits, like almost too hard. But like I said before, like really like you benefit a lot from daily exercise, because it brings a lot of, like, when I say sexual energy, or you can think of that as like energetic energy or spiritual energy, whatever, life force, right? Prana. So with the Mars and Aries, like I said before, it's very good for being an initiator, very spontaneous. But the square with Neptune can make it so that spontaneity can go in the wrong direction, right? And there can be some cloudiness around it. So that's why like the meditation and sitting with the self and the alone time and all that can be so, so important, right? Also, it can be very accident prone, Mars and Aries. They can just like be very headstrong, and sometimes they're fighters for sure, definitely fighters. Now, I said you have no air in your chart, but you do have Jupiter, which in my system is in the 8th house. This is a superpower when it comes. It's very, very good for, which I already talked about, like the thing with money and the family and all that. Like a lot of times that's what Saturn in the 2nd house represents. But like with 8th house Jupiter, a lot of times that can like make you really like able to benefit from other people's resources. Like it could be like an inheritance, or it could also be just like marrying someone that has means, or it could be like another example is like being like a investment banker who uses other people's resources, something like that. You know what I mean? But you can benefit from other people's money and resources. And also it makes you very, very, 8th house is like the house of Scorpio, the house of the occult, the house of the esoteric, of the mysteries of life. So it can make you very, very in tune with all of those, and very, very like I always think of Jupiter in 8th house as like this lantern, where like you're able to like navigate like the kind of what other people like think, if it's like matters of life or death, life after death, like these really deep spiritual questions that occult esoteric talks about. Like you have this like lantern where you're able to kind of like see, which is such a great thing for like a psychologist or someone who's doing any kind of healing work, because they can have like this access. And when it's in Gemini, Jupiter and Gemini people tend to be talkers, but also they can be very versatile people who really like they can have like 2 different careers. they can have like the hobby, the passion, and then like the money maker. And it just makes it definitely gives one the gift of gab, you know, the ability, like that real gift of communication and ability to, even as a very, very deep person, to have like, I guess you could say like small talk, or like to kind of like communicate, but like it's in the 8th house. So it's like you're able to like communicate lightly in a way that's very digestible and understandable to people who might like not believe in this stuff at all. And yeah, so it's very, very yeah, and it gives one like this like it makes one want to have this like constant exchange of information. And yeah, very versatile. So it definitely, like, it's a middle planet, but it's something when it comes to the air. The Earth, there's just nothing. Let's see here. Got my hair. Wish I could cut my. I wish there was a hair cutting machine. So yeah, Chiron. So back to the whole thing with you know, my shoulders are so tight. With like you know, like the mate and stuff, or like relationships, like Juno kind of it represents sort of like what we look for. So you have like all these like relationship points in Cancer, you know, Vertex, you know, Juno. So to me, it's really speaking to how your perfect mate is definitely someone who is able to connect on that real deep level, like a very close and caring relationship. Also family, like someone who wants to like, you know, like share meals and have that family life, and potentially we'll know more in the follow-up, like create like a family life that maybe you didn't have earlier in your life, who knows. And with the vertex there in the 9th house, like it's like you also want to like explore with that person. You also want to have someone who's interested in whether it's exploring the world, or it could be someone from a different culture potentially, but someone who opens your eyes and helps broaden your worldview. Super important. And in relationships, you'll come off as like the very like nurturing Cancerian, like, I don't want to say like mother figure, but like, yeah, you know what I mean. And you make a great mother too. I mean, Cancer Moon gives that maternal instinct, whether it's for your friends, for your, you know, as I said before, like for yourself, for partners, whatever it may be. So yeah, you know, Mercury in the 10th house can speak about like a career where like you're using communication, where you really want to share like your thoughts and your ideals, all the stuff that you've learned, you really want to like share those. And in Leo, like it makes one have like this like real swagger the way they speak, very proud of kind of like their learning abilities and speaking abilities. Like they find learning very fun, the Mercury Leos. But sometimes, like I said before, you have to watch out for that tendency to be like a know-it-all and be open to like, which it seems like you're very open with getting an astrology reading, to hearing different takes, right? And you may even go on to get readings from other astrologers who maybe like a Vedic astrologer, or like a Uranian astrologer, or like a Babylonian astrologer, and just get different takes and see kind of what they say. But yeah, so yeah, that T square in the 12th house, like I said, you know, that's like a lot, like when you're of service, like whether it's through your profession or just like in your personal life or whatever, in any way, that's when things really open up and you start to actually see things a lot clearer, and it really takes away a lot of like some of the more difficult karma away. Because yeah, like I said, with past lives, there definitely is that tendency to be a little bit short-sighted, I guess you could say, a little bit in the, you know, like it's definitely with the North Node in Pisces, a quest for like deep compassion and deep faith, right? Because there can be like this tendency to like build lots of like rigid structures in your life, And sometimes even South Node and Virgo, there can be like overly judgmental of other people, and just not willing to kind of open up to like what could be, which blocks, the understanding of like the whole oneness of the universe, right? So yeah, learning to rely on your intuition is super, super like important for you. That's like kind of your North Node journey. I'm looking at myself in the camera, my eyes all red. I'm just coming off being sick. I probably would have been sick for longer, but I was like, this is not happening. Leo rising, I'm like, nah, got work to do. Oh, my shoulder. So yeah, then like Pluto, first house in my system, I usually go to my Pluto book. It's kind of a ceremonial thing I do. But that's just like someone who's like a transformative leader, who like embraces change, who welcomes change, and who's always challenging themselves in different ways. Very powerful personality. And yeah, who's really here. Also, there could be, I'm gonna get my Pluto book. It's like a handwritten book I wrote when I first started this journey. It's completely handwritten. Let's see if I can find house 1. So yeah, for the outer planets, obviously I look more at the house they're in. The sign, like for example, Pluto and Scorpio, everyone between 1984 and like 1998 or something has Pluto and Scorpio. So it's like, it does matter, but like, I mean, I'm not trying to do like a 17-hour reading, you know what I mean? And it matters more when you're like speaking to people from like different generations, But okay, so here it goes. The deepest evolutionary impulse is towards independence and freedom. Perhaps this was held back in some way in a past life. This will be felt instinctually, and there could be little insight into this. There could be a conflict between the soul, we've talked about this before, but the soul and the ego. This is like clockwork. Like this, you see how this does this? It's like literally, I was talking about this before. The evolutionary purpose is to search for the self, for the fulfillment of one's individual potential. The Aries first house wants novelty / instinctual bodily experience, while the Pluto wants a deep inner psychological meaning of experience, which can be literally related to like the Leo part and like the more Cancer / North Node and Pisces, Scorpio rising part. So this can lead to repressed rage in itself or others. There's an inner fear of imprisonment in relationships. I literally already said that. And the polarity point, which is like the healing, is reaching out in relationships to help them understand what they want due to this conflict, which is literally what I've been talking about this whole time. Like in relationships is like where a lot of healing can happen. And you'll be instinctually drawn to some people and repelled by others. Can lead to relationship issues / repetitive cycles in them if the healing isn't done. And the critical factor in transcending this intimacy paradox is choosing the right partner. God, astrology, you never cease to amaze me. Okay, let's see here. Run through the aspects. Okay, I touched on all of those. So one other thing about Saturn's second house is there can be like feelings of either like financial poverty early in life or emotional poverty. So like what it can indicate is like, even if you're not from like poverty, there can be like past life memories of that, and feeling like yeah, emotional poverty like is a good metaphor. And with Uranus, I already talked about how it's like the up and down with income, and it's also very good for being very like entrepreneurial and having like these very like just like smart like ideas for making money. and for like business and stuff, or whatever it might be, or for whatever business slash whatever you do for to earn a living. And let's see here. So like, yeah, another thing with Venus, like it's also like, so like in Cancer, you'll probably like very smooth, emotional, grounding music. Um, there also will be an emotional need for like financial security, forming like very strong emotional bonds with your own tribe. Also, I think your friend Mandy spoke to you about a group you might want to message me about. We can talk about that in the follow-up, just remind me. And then, yeah, it's very like family oriented, right? So that's like the Cancer. And then in the ninth house, it's like it's and this is all very good for like higher education too, like higher university education. But yeah, there's like a huge urge, like I said before, to understand the world, to understand universal truth, the three questions: where we came from, where we're going, where we came from, why we're here, where we're going, right? And yeah, part of fortune in the 12th, interesting how this kind of like that's kind of like your flow state, like where things just kind of like where you can get a lot of joy in the 12th house. It's like, lots of fulfillment can come from you know flowing into that like real spiritual purpose and being of service, right? And being very in tune with like the spiritual side of life. And in Libra, no, no coincidences. You'll have lots of joy when you have or joy, harmony, all that. Excuse me. You'll have lots of joy when you have relationships that there's this level of like balance, peace, harmony, and yeah, like a sense of real belonging. Like whether that's like a tribe, like a group of friends, or like an organization, or even a job, or like a purpose. So being a part of something bigger than yourself. But yeah, lots of trials and tribulations in this chart. Lots of death, rebirth, transformation. Definitely an evolved soul, meaning someone who's incarnated a lot of times and who has decided in this lifetime to take on some kind of difficult karma. I didn't really talk about Neptune in the third house. That is about like kind of very beautiful in terms of like writing and communicating. It can really give someone an ability to like through their writing or communication to kind of get in touch with like other realms. And it's just like a real great ability to communicate through the arts or spiritual pursuits. But also it can create kind of a scattered mind. So it's like important to like find an outlet that kind of helps you kind of get past that. But yeah, all in all, like everything difficult in the chart, we'll talk and remind me in the follow-up to talk about this, is able to be overcome. Like it's meant to be overcome. And it's meant to kind of turn into strengths. So with the moon, with the oppositions, it can be someone, moon Saturn, someone who can have very good commitment and very good long-term relationships, right? And who can be very, very responsible and loyal and stuff like that. With Uranus, it's someone who who might at some level, like we talked about the imprisonment thing in relationships, being able to have conversations around that and learning how to create space and when you need it, and have conversations around that in relationships. And with Neptune, yeah, it's like the highest like spiritual romantic energy, but also on an artistic level, it's like can create like like geniuses in that area, right? Like where you're linking like Venus, the ability to like for example, like be the painter, and Neptune, like that's like the imagination, the inspiration that comes after. So okay, let's take a look at this. Let's see what I see. Mm. Yeah. Okay. I'm looking for any like big important stars. Yeah, so that's basically it. I just want to also say, like, Moon conjunct Venus is a very beautiful placement. It definitely helps a lot in bringing peace and harmony to your life. So even when things are intense, you're able, especially with like, yeah, actually, never mind. Yeah, so you're definitely able to kind of like be someone who people rely on, right? It just gives like a very loving and caring energy, gentle, affectionate, um, and very good for like friend popularity, and just like really liking to take care of people. So making, yeah. So that's very, very good. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed. I look forward to our follow up, and I'll talk to you later. All right. Ciao, ciao, ciao. Bye bye.